Hello, my name is Laura Getskiewicz, and I'm the Resident Director of the Rutgers Global Study Abroad programs here in Valencia, Spain. And today I am delighted, in collaboration with the Rutgers School of Environmental and Biological Sciences, to present the preparation of our cook-along next week. I'm here in Baalbek, which is one of two very successful and beloved restaurants here in Valencia, of my dear friend Steve Anderson. His other restaurant is the Makin Cafe, which specializes in decolonial food, which we're going to be talking about in our cook-along, and Steve will give you all the information you need. Apart from owning two successful restaurants and leading them successfully through this pandemic, Steve is the author of this book, Burma: Food, Family, and Conflict. The co-author is his sister, Dr. Bridget Anderson, who is a professor of migrations, mobility, and citizenship at the University of Bristol. The book is a lovely and delightful journey through the history of Burma, the history of food, and the history of a family. So it's quite entertaining. So without further ado, I would love to introduce to you Steve Anderson, one of our star chefs in Valencia, who's going to tell you what you will need to do to best prepare for our cook-along next week.
Hi everybody, thank you very much Laura for that very kind presentation. I'm Steve Anderson, as Laura says, and I'm here to explain to you today not the recipes in themselves, but what you need to do to be ready to prepare the recipes next Wednesday. Because the idea next Wednesday is that together we make two dishes. And the two dishes are pomelo salad, a grapefruit salad, and a biryani of cauliflower, okay? And in order that we can do that in an hour, you have to buy and prepare the ingredients beforehand, okay? Because if I say to you, bring an onion and bring some garlic and bring some ginger, and then I say, okay, chop the garlic and chop it, and you're gonna say, how much? How do I need to chop it? Where's the ginger? Where's the knife? So you need to be really prepared if you're gonna take part in this class, okay? So the idea today is to show you how to prepare the ingredients. So first recipe is the pomelo salad. It's a very simple salad. It comes from Burma. Burma actually have fantastic salads. It's one of my great discoveries when I was there. Burma is where my mum was born, and it's a country that I adore. It's very much in the news now, of course, for rather sad circumstances. Anyway, this salad is a Burmese salad, a Burmese pomelo salad. You'll need pomelo, or grapefruit. I've got some rather nice pink grapefruits here. You need two of those. You'll also need some lime juice, because this salad is dressed with lime juice with a neutral oil, and by neutral I mean one without a strong taste. So don't use olive oil, don't use sesame oil. I'm using peanut oil. You could also use maybe rapeseed oil, or you could use sunflower oil. You'll also need fish sauce. If you want your salad to be vegetarian, then use a little bit of soy sauce, okay? What else have we got in this salad? We've got some dried shrimp. You know the shrimp that you get in the Asian supermarket? They're in the fridge section. Okay, they're little shrimp, and they're slightly dried. So I've popped them into some cold water. So before we start next week, if you're using the shrimp, and they're not compulsory, so if you want a vegetarian salad, don't bother with them. But if you're using shrimp, then put them into a little cold water just before we start. Okay, and you need about a tablespoonful. If you don't want to use shrimp, you can substitute them, for instance, with some cashew nuts, for example. Okay? What else do you need? You need a couple of cherry tomatoes. You need some seeds. Now, you can use pumpkin seeds. You can use sunflower seeds. You could even use sesame seeds, but sesame seeds are a bit small. Perhaps pine nuts. Okay? So you want something that's going to give a bit of crunch to the salad. We're also going to use a little bit of white cabbage. If you can't get white cabbage, well, why not use a red cabbage? And if you can't get a red cabbage, well, why don't you use a little bit of crispy iceberg lettuce? Just ring the changes, okay? And another two very important ingredients for a Burmese salad: crispy shallot. I'll explain that in a second. And this is chickpea flour. And the chickpea flour, which you can buy from an Asian supermarket, now I'm afraid this one you can't really substitute. If you can find chickpeas and you have a coffee grinder, you can grind them up in the coffee grinder and make the flour, okay? But this really, what it does is it makes the salad nice and creamy. When you mix the oil and the fish sauce and you put in the chickpea flour, it makes it nice and creamy. If you can't get it, well, you just have to do without it. And this is a little bit of fresh ginger, which before the class you'll need to grate, because what we're going to do with that, once you've grated it, is squeeze it to get the juice out of it. Okay? Crispy shallots, you can buy them in an Asian supermarket. If you can't buy them, you can buy some raw shallots, peel them, slice them up really finely as you can, okay? And once you've got them all nicely sliced up and fine, just drop them into some hot oil and very slowly fry them until all of the liquid in them has evaporated, has burnt off, okay? And they'll be crispy. Then just strain them and dry them on kitchen paper. Okay, so those are the ingredients for the salad. The only other thing you're going to need is a little bit of cilantro, coriander, okay? And I love coriander. I love to chop it into the salad. If you don't like coriander, well, put some mint in there instead perhaps, or some dill. I wouldn't use parsley. Not quite Asian enough, I don't think. So those are the ingredients for our pomelo salad. Okay, so the second dish that you're going to be preparing next Wednesday is a biryani of cauliflower. Biryani is a dish that comes from India. It really comes from the kind of Mughal period of Indian history. The Mughals who came, I think, from Persia, is that right? Their style of cooking, which is very similar to kind of Iranian cooking, influences in a lot of areas, Indian cooking today. So this is a rice dish. It's very appropriate for Valencia because we grow rice in Valencia. And you can even find, even though our typical rice is a short grain rice, you can find long grain rice like basmati rice here that's grown in Valencia. So we can use local rice even. This isn't, I'm afraid. This is imported Indian rice. Okay, so let's just talk a little bit about the ingredients that you're going to need to make the biryani. And again, you must make sure that you have all of these ingredients, not just bought, but prepared like I'm going to explain to you now. Okay, I'm going to be a very strict teacher. Okay, so it's a biryani, it's a rice and cauliflower dish. So we need rice, this is basmati rice, and we need cauliflower, okay? You're also going to need to cook the rice in some kind of stock. So I've got here a vegetable stock. This is one that we make. In the restaurant, we make vegetable stock with turnips, with onion, with carrots, other root vegetables. If you don't want to make it, because it's a bit of a faff, then don't worry. You can get a stock cube, a vegetable stock cube, and dissolve it. But the important thing is that you have the same volume of rice as stock, okay? Not more, not less. That's absolutely critical, because the main thing about a biryani is that the rice is what the Valencianos call a punto, que no está pasado, okay? That it's just right and that it's not overcooked. Okay, it's an Indian dish, so it's going to have spices, isn't it? Because Indian food is the kind of the example par excellence of cooking with spices. Two kinds of spices. We've got whole spices here, and we've got powdered spices. The powdered spices are pretty essential. You'll need garam masala, turmeric, and chili powder, or if you don't like your food too spicy, then you can use paprika instead of chili powder. Okay, I've put both here, but you can choose one or the other. And then whole spices, these are not all essential. If you can find 2 of them, say, then that's great. If you can find more, then that's even better. But here I've got cinnamon, I've got star anise, black cardamom, that's probably quite difficult to find, fennel seeds, cloves, and coriander seeds. If you have cumin seeds at home, for instance, you can put cumin seeds in as well. That will be fine, or mustard seeds, okay? So they don't have to be these spices, but those are some suggestions, and at least 2 of them. You're also going to need some ginger and garlic, which what I've done here is I've taken the garlic and I've peeled it, and after peeling it, the only thing I've done is just take a grater, just an ordinary cheese grater, and And on the fine part of the cheese grater, you just grate it. I had a cheese grater here somewhere and I've lost it. Anyway, grate the garlic and do the same with the ginger. Peel the ginger and just on the grater, grate it. And that'll save you a bit of chopping. But get it done before we start the class, okay? So you'll need about a teaspoon of grated ginger and garlic mixed together. I've also got here some green chilies, fresh green chilies. You can get those from an Asian supermarket. And I've got fresh curry leaves. Now, fresh curry leaves you may not be able to find. If you can't find fresh curry leaves, don't worry. Use a bay leaf, for instance, okay? What else will we need? We'll need some onion. You'll need one large onion, or an onion like this, I've used about 1.5, okay? And what you need to do with the onion before we start the class, again, don't leave it till we've started, because we'll end up playing catch up and people won't be ready to start cooking, okay? If there's a nasty bit on the onion like this one, just chop it out. Whoop, there we go. And basically what you're going to do with the onion is cut it into what we call julienne. So you just take the onion and you just slice it into nice thin slices, preferably not on a dancing chopping board like I've got here, okay? So you want one large onion, finely sliced, 1.5 if they're medium, and maybe 2 if they're pretty small. You'll also need a tomato, okay? Slice the tomato in half. I suspect it says 2 tomatoes on the recipe. These are quite big, so I'm only using 1, okay? Slice it into quarters, and then what we're going to do, let me just get rid of all this. What we're going to do is peel the tomato, and it's very easy. You just take the quarter, and just with a sharp knife, just, whoops, slice off the skin, okay? And do the same with the other quarter, and just keeping close to the skin, just slice off the skin like that, okay? And once the skin's sliced off, just on your dancing chopping board, you can stop your chopping board by dancing by putting a cloth under it. But I'm afraid our camera team decided they didn't want to have a nasty cloth underneath the chopping board, which is why it's dancing. Okay, so what you do is you chop the whole tomato, so it's like that. And if you can't be bothered, you can buy a little tin of chopped tomatoes, okay? Other ingredients we're going to need, a little bit of fresh herbs. I've got coriander and mint. If you can only get coriander, well, coriander. If you can only get mint, well, mint. I've got lemon, because we're going to put a bit of lemon juice in there as well, and salt. And to cook it all, we need a little bit of cooking oil, okay? And this is a neutral cooking oil. This is sunflower oil. If you can't get sunflower oil, any neutral oil, but not something strong tasting like olive oil or sesame oil, okay? You'll also need, and this is very important, a suitable cooking pot. So this one, the reason why I've chosen it is because it's got a very tight-fitting lid. Because when we cook the rice in that very limited amount of stock, we want to make sure that all of the stock is absorbed by the rice. We don't want any of it to escape, okay? So it's really important that you have a pot with a tight-fitting lid. I forgot to mention the cauliflower. The cauliflower needs to be cut into little florets like that, okay? I leave quite a long stem on it because we have a tendency to kind of throw that away, and I think it's just very wasteful. So keep a reasonably long stem, and you want kind of bite-sized pieces. And that's about 1/4 of a cauliflower chopped up. The ingredients we sent you are for 2 people. So if you're going to make it for 4, then just double the ingredients, okay? Right, so that's the preparation that you need to have ready for next week's lesson. And I'm really looking forward to seeing you there next Wednesday, 11 o'clock your time. See you then. Bye.